Hi guys, well it's been ages since I've done a sit down video, so it feels really good to just be able to sit here and chat to you, and this is the first ever Q&A that I've ever done on here. So this is what I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm so pleased to finally be able to sit down and answer your questions. I'm going to start off with a question from Sandra Trudel. Sandra asks, how old are your children? Well, I have got Wilf, who is now 3 months old, Scarlett, who is 2 years old, Henry is 5, Odin is 7, Imogen is 11, Samantha is 12, Honey, who's 14, and Edward, who's 19. So I have a big broad range of ages there, and I love watching the children go through each stage of their development and seeing their personalities come out as they grow and seeing what they do with their lives as they get older. It's a lovely, amazing thing to watch, and I just love being a mum. Mars UK asks, how long have I homeschooled for? Well, I have homeschooled for, in total, probably about 4 years, I think it is. What happened was my children were originally at school, then for many different reasons I decided to home educate. Home educated, then for other reasons they went back to school, and then again I homeschooled, but altogether I think it's been about 4 years. Jen Bowles, she asks me quite a few questions. One of them is, what do your kids want to be when they grow up? Well, my eldest, he is doing a mechanical engineering apprenticeship, so he's doing what he wants to do, and he is very happy in that sort of a job, so he's going to carry on doing that. And then Honey, she wants to be a photographer. She's loved photography since she was a little girl, so really little girl, so yeah, that is one of her passions, and she is really keen to be a photographer. But she's also really good at writing stories, so I think she might also be an author. She has spoken about being an author before, so that's probably something that she will end up doing as well, I would imagine. Samantha, she wants to be an artist. She loves her art. She's a very creative person. And then Imogen, she loves baking and cooking, and she wants to be a chef. Odin, he's only 7, so I don't think he's really decided yet. Henry is also very artistic, and he always says to me when he's older he wants to definitely be an artist. So that's what they would like to do. Jen also asks, how many kids do my children want to have when they grow up? And all of them say that they want to have loads. They love being in a big family, and they want lots and lots of children. So I can't wait to see how many they have, and how many grandchildren I'll have, and how many great-grandchildren I'll have. I think it's going to be amazing. Jen asks me, what is my best talent? That's a difficult one. I don't know if I've got any talents. I don't know, I think I'm a natural mum. I don't know if you can call that a talent, but that's what I devote my life to, so is that a talent? I don't know. Jen asks me also, what is something new you would like to learn or do? Well, I would like to learn to play the piano properly. I did have piano lessons as a child many years ago, but I would really like to just devote a bit of time to allow myself the pleasure of just learning for pleasure's sake. I would really like to learn to play the piano properly. Jen also asks, what is my favourite animal? I really like snow leopards. I just think they look cool. That's the only reason. They look great. And I have a few more questions from another viewer called Shada Lasella. Her first question is, what are your personal views on contraception? My personal views on contraception are, firstly, that I don't want to push my opinion on anybody else. My opinion is my opinion. That's the first thing that I want to say about it. And I believe that conception happens when the sperm enters the egg, right? So at that point I believe that that is a life, and I personally would not want to destroy that life, even though it's just 1 cell or 2 cells or however many. So I wouldn't use any contraception that would interfere with that. So if you're going to take the pill, that can make you get rid of that fertilized egg. That's what it does. When you take the pill, a lot of people think that the egg is never fertilized, but it is. So I personally wouldn't take the pill, and I wouldn't use the coil or anything else that would destroy a fertilized egg. So that's my views on contraception. Second question is, do I have a structured routine with the children, or am I flexible? I do like a good routine. I am a big believer in routine, so we all get up at a reasonable time in the morning, although I don't go around waking all the children up. I mean, most of them are up before I wake up anyway, but if they're not up by, say, 8:30, then I will go and say, why aren't you up, what are you doing, and get them up. But I don't have a strict time that they have to get up. I don't have a strict time that they have to eat breakfast, but they do have to eat breakfast at a reasonable time, you know, a good few hours before lunch. Then lunch I always have ready for 12 o'clock if I'm making it. Sometimes I don't make it, they make their own, but they always know lunchtime is 12 o'clock. We like to have tea time daily, where we read some poetry together and have a piece of cake or a biscuit and a cup of tea, and that's usually at about 11 o'clock. Then dinner time is always 5 o'clock. So our days are quite structured according to meal times, you could say. Then bedtimes, I put Scarlett to bed at 6, Henry to bed at 7, Odin goes to bed at 7:30. Then Samantha and Imogen go to bed at 8:30. Honey, she can stay up till 10, but she often goes to bed earlier because she likes to read. And Wilf, you know, is a baby, so he doesn't have such a strict routine. But generally he goes into his cot at about 9 o'clock at night, and then that way he sleeps for most of the night. Yeah, so that's the basic routine of my day. Shada also asks if I have any budget tips for a large family's needs. My budget tips for large families are to buy in bulk when you can with food. So I will buy 25 kilogram bags of oats, 25 kilogram bags of rice, of anything, beans, all different things. So also I like to use not too much meat, and instead I bulk out the meals with beans. So I get the dried beans, I soak them and cook them, freeze them into portions, and then add them to things like mince when I make a bolognese. That saves a lot of money. Other ways that we manage to survive financially are, we don't go out to places that you have to pay to go to very often. What else do we do to save money? We have a small budget for birthdays and Christmas. I don't have any debt, so that I think saves money because I'm not having to pay interest on debts. I don't have a mobile phone contract. I don't watch live streaming TV, so I don't have to pay for a TV license. How else do I save money? I don't know. We're quite frugal, so we do okay. Another question from Shada is, what coping mechanism do you use to prevent frustration? If I get frustrated with the children, I think that's what she is referring to, I'm not sure. But if I feel like I can't cope, like everything's annoying me and getting on top of me, then I will just remove myself from the situation. So I will just, you know, maybe go to the bathroom for 5 minutes just to chill out, and compose myself and put things into perspective. But generally I am quite a calm person. Not much phases me, and I'm not a very shouty person, so I don't shout. The more frustrated I get with the situation, the quieter I get. So the children know that if mummy's going quiet, then you know something's wrong and they need to start behaving themselves. So yeah, they're quite good. I mean, they know what I'm like and they don't want to annoy me. They respect my feelings just like I respect theirs, so it works out okay. Shada also asks, how do you potty train, and at what age have you expected your children to complete potty training? Well, I don't have a set age for potty training. I just do it when I feel like they're ready. I have tried a few times with Scarlett so far, but she doesn't seem like she's ready. She tells me that she still wants to wear her nappies, so I say fine, you carry on wearing them for now and let me know when you want to use the toilet. And that's the other thing, I don't use a potty. I get them to use the toilet straight away because I don't see the point in training them to use a potty and then training them to use a toilet. So I just go straight to the toilet. And yeah, I wait till an age when they can understand what I'm saying and they can talk to me, and then it's quite easy. I think, you know, you just say to your child, right, let's buy you some new underwear, and you've got to try not to get them wet, and when you need to do a wee, you tell me and I'll put you on the toilet. And that's how it starts, and it just naturally moves on from there. JC Clarno asks, she asks me if I'm Catholic, and no, I'm not. And she asks me, do I think I'll have more children? Well, I would love to have more children. I always wanted to have 10, and I've only got 8 so far, so you never know. She also asks me, what is this lipstick that I'm wearing? And it is this one by, oh, I don't know if you can see it, it's by MAC, and it's the shade Ready to Go. And she asks, is my hair naturally this dark? It is naturally this dark, but I now colour it to cover up the grey roots. So now we have some questions from Kate Ibrahim, and the first one is, how do I manage to keep on top of housework with such a busy household and school? Well, I have a lot of helpers, so it's generally not too difficult. When we need to tidy up, I'll tell everybody, come on, we need to tidy up, and everyone will get involved and we'll get it done nice and quickly. So yeah, luckily I have lots of children that actually enjoy helping me. We work well as a team, so yeah, it's not too bad. Kate then asks, what tips do you have for mums suffering with low energy just from the everyday slog? Food, supplements, exercise. Well, I like to eat healthily, although that has not been so good lately, but diet definitely helps you with your energy levels. It helps me anyway. If I can eliminate or cut down gluten, that really helps me. Eat lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, and if you can eat as much raw fruit and vegetables as you can, that gives you a lot of energy, I find. So just try to not eat processed foods. If you're feeling run down and sluggish and slow, then try to eat foods that are not processed. That would be my advice there. Supplement wise, I take fermented cod liver oil and I take butter oil. I will leave a link in the description below to those oils. I also like to take a vitamin C, that really helps, and I think that's it supplement wise at the moment. And exercise, I like to run. I haven't been doing too well with that. I have managed a couple of runs this month but I need to get that back into my life. Kate also asks, do I have any tips on keeping on top of the teens' secondary schooling whilst having youngsters? Well, what I do for my teenagers or tweens is I print out a list of what I want them to do every week, so they know what they've got to read, and then they know that they've got to write about it. Then there are lessons that we do together. I know when they've done their reading because I will read their narrations in their books. and they just get on with that. And then we do our lessons together, like nature study, art, music appreciation, art appreciation, handicraft. All those lessons we do all together. So I can see that they're doing their work that way too. Let go. Those kinds of lessons I can create different levels for everyone to do, but still be able to work together. So for art, you know, they can all do their art at their own level. For nature study, they can all sit there and learn about birds like we're doing this term, and then we'll go out and we'll try and see what birds we can see, and you know, that's all great. Kate asks, she says she's got 2 girls and she would like to add to her family. How can she prepare herself and homeschool for another edition? Well, when I found out I was pregnant with Wilf, I scheduled our homeschooling so that we'd finish the academic year just before he was born, and then I gave us 3.5 months off homeschooling completely, so just a complete 3.5 month break, and that was really helpful. So I would definitely recommend doing that. But during the time that you have off, the 3.5 months, I would recommend that you gradually start planning the next year for your other 2 children, so you don't have to do it all at the end, which is pretty much what I did, and I regret that. I should have spent longer planning it out. She also asks if I have any pregnancy tips. I would say just keep yourself as healthy and fit as possible, keep yourself active and eat a good diet. Do I have any tips for home educating with a newborn? You just have to do it when you can. Sometimes you'll need a break. You'll need to sleep, for example, because there will be nights when you don't get any sleep and you'll have to have a rest in the day. So just do the lessons when you can. Don't do a timetable where you've got fixed times for different lessons, and also prepare your homeschooling so that your children know that they can go off and do things by themselves. They've got things to do, that you don't have to sit there and teach them. You can actually sit there with your newborn baby and breastfeed and have a snooze, or you know, whatever you want to do. And her last question is, what is your go-to for a pick-me-up on a bad day? Coffee, really. If I'm having a bad day, it's always because I'm tired, and sometimes, unfortunately, the only way I can get through the day is with coffee. Sheila asks me if I would like more children, which, as I've already said, yep, I would love more children. And she asks me if my husband and I are from big families. No, neither of us are from big families, but we are both from dysfunctional families, and I think that's why we've both had this dream of creating a lovely big family for ourselves, because we never got to experience that as children. Melanie asks me if I have any tips on keeping calm and staying motivated. I'm naturally quite a calm person, but there are times when I feel terribly over anxious and worry, and the only way I can calm myself down is just to take a step back and realise that if I'm having a bad day, it's just that I'm having a bad day, and that the next day is not going to be the same, it's going to be better. So not to get, you know, too overwhelmed, but to just calm down and think, this is just how I'm feeling now, and it's going to pass. It's going to be okay. The ways that I stay motivated are to remember that I am working this hard for the sake of my children, and that is something worth doing, and that keeps me motivated every day. That keeps me motivated knowing that I'm working hard for my children's sake, and long may it last. I have a question from 23B Matty. How did you and why did you start homeschooling, and how do you afford budget it? I started homeschooling because I was not happy with the standard of education in the schools. Even though my children were going to some of the best schools in the country. I was still not happy. It just seemed like they were teaching my children to pass tests. They weren't teaching them to be passionate about anything. They were just teaching them to be able to memorise stuff and pass tests. And that, I thought, was dreadful. It seemed like schools, to me, seemed like day prisons sometimes. I know this sounds harsh, but that's just my opinion. I would hear things like the children would come home and say that they were really hot, but they weren't allowed to take their blazer off and things like that, and I just thought that was appalling. And then I was hearing that the schools were having these new punishments brought in, like they could be put in isolation, and they could be given these different punishments with different codes, like they were given a C3 or a C whatever, or I don't even know what they were. It just seemed like teachers were behaving like prison wardens. And yeah, I know that you need to keep control of your students, but there are better ways. And yeah, I didn't want my children being treated like that. I thought it was disgusting, to be honest with you. I want my children to be able to fully learn about the things that they're passionate about and interested in. I didn't want them to sit there being bored because their teacher had a set target that they had to get a certain amount of students to achieve a certain grade and stuff like that. I just didn't want my children to be a part of that system. Also, I didn't agree, well, I still don't agree with a lot of the political stuff that is taught in schools, and how they're taught that certain things are facts without the children being able to research it, or to know that they're not facts, they are just theories or some political agenda. Yeah, so lots and lots of different reasons. And I've worked in schools as well, so I've seen it from the inside, and plus I've been a student at school myself, so I understand it from that point of view as well. And it just didn't appeal to me, and my children weren't happy with it either. And when I discussed with them about homeschooling and what we could do differently, they were more than happy to leave school, and really wanted to. And now they would, if you ask them, would you like to go back to school? No, they really wouldn't. They sometimes I joke with them and say, right, I'm going to send you back to school, and they're like, oh no, please don't. So yeah, they're happy with being homeschooled, and I'm definitely happy homeschooling them. The way we afford it is I use a free online curriculum. It's, if you go to Ambleside online, that's basically what I use. I change it a bit, but that's the gist of it. And on there it gives you links to all the books that you need, and most of them you can get for free. And like I said earlier, we don't tend to go out much. We budget carefully, and we don't live in debt. We don't pay huge amounts of money on interest or anything like that. We don't have a mobile phone contract. We don't pay for TV. We don't pay for car loans or anything like that. So that's how we can afford to buy some of the books that we do need to pay for, and things like paper and pencils and paints and all the other little bits and pieces. I would like more money to enrich their education. If I had a bit more money, I would pay for them to have piano lessons or other musical lessons, and I would like to pay for them to have a course in a foreign language, to learn a foreign language, because I'm really not good at that. That's my worst subject, if you like. And I would use, if I had a bit more money, I would use it to buy more books for them, and to take them on more educational trips to museums and to science places and whatever. Sarah also asks, what are my hobbies? To be honest with you, don't have much time for hobbies. My main hobby at the moment is vlogging. I just really enjoy capturing my family memories on film, and I enjoy sharing it with you guys and seeing what you think of it. And yeah, you're like my extended family. I don't have any family really that I'm in contact with, so yeah, you're like my family, and I like to share my family life with you and film it. I love doing the editing and creating the thumbnails and all that. If I had more time, I'm sure I'd have loads more hobbies, but at the moment I'm busy with babies and toddlers and teenagers and everything, so for now this channel, that's my hobby. She also asks what my husband's job is and how hands-on he is with homeschooling. Well, he doesn't do the homeschooling, I do all of it, but he is very good at explaining things and he's very good at science. So if I am struggling with anything, I'll say, oh, go and ask Dad, he knows all about that, and then he'll explain it all. Oh, his job. He works in a place that does woodwork and he trains people there to do it. Amy Curtis asks, do I read all the books that my older children need to read for their schoolwork? If so, how do you find the time? If not, how do you engage with them about what they are reading? No, I don't read all of the books. I haven't got the time. It would be impossible. They do a lot of reading. What happens is they read their books, usually a chapter at a time, and then they have to write about it in a notebook, which I will read, but I also ask them verbally, what was that about, and then they tell me, and we discuss what the book was about, and I know they've read it because they enjoy reading anyway, and what they say makes sense and it matches with the synopsis that I've read about the book. She also says, do I ever find my children lacking motivation to do their work? If so, how do you encourage them to be diligent in their studies? Sometimes they have days where they're not that interested and they're like, oh, I can't be bothered, and usually that's when I will help them. Like, for example, Imogen recently, she was really not into her history, so I did the lesson, well, for about the past 2 or 3 history lessons she's had, I've done them with her, and now she's really enthusiastic again and really interested in it. So sometimes I think they just want you to be interested in what they're doing, and that helps a lot. And Amy asks, how do I make time for myself and what do I do to recharge? At the moment I don't really have much time for myself. The only time I have for myself is when I am making and editing these videos, which is something that I enjoy. It's my little escape. I just have to do that when Wilf is napping and everybody else is doing something else. The best way for me to recharge and feel re-energized is have a coffee and a nice bath. Josie asks me, how did I meet my husband? I met him in a pub. I was with some friends and he was with some of other friends of mine, and we all met up, and that's how I met him, and thank goodness I did, because he's a very nice husband. She also asks, was he pro homeschooling from the beginning? And yes, he was, definitely, very much so. I think we're pretty much always on the same wavelength, and he completely could see why I wanted to homeschool. And she asks, did you get any slack from your family for homeschooling? Well, I don't have any family to worry about. There was no problems there. She says, how do your kids like being on YouTube in your videos? They love it, apart from my eldest, who's a bit camera shy, but yeah, I just don't really include him in many videos because I wouldn't put anyone on my videos that didn't want to be. She asks, what are some large family tips you can share in terms of budgeting, travelling, organising, etc. I think I've already shared my budgeting tips. Travelling I don't really do at the moment because, well, lots of reasons. I haven't got a car. My husband's got a car, but we can't all fit into it, and I can't drive it because it's a manual and I can only drive an automatic, so I need to save up for an automatic car. My car had to be scrapped because the chassis rusted completely. So now, yeah, I'm just saving up for a car, and then when I can finally afford a car for us all to get into, then I will take the children out on more day trips and stuff, but at the moment we're fairly stuck. But as for travelling abroad and stuff, I don't do that because I haven't got a passport sorted out. But one day I'll sort that out as well and we will go somewhere, but for now that's just not something I've really thought about. And as for organising, the way I organise is I generally write lots of lists. Josie also asks, how long do I nurse my babies for? The shortest amount of time I've nursed for is 6 months and the longest is, I think, 13 months or 14 months, something like that. Clara asks about the homeschooling laws in the UK. Are there any inspections, exams, mandatory vaccinations, stuff like that? I think it differs slightly from county to county, but here there are not really any laws. The only law is that you have to provide a full-time education for your children, but what that means is up to you to interpret. So you can choose the hours, you can choose the days, you can choose the weeks, the months, whatever you do. You can choose what subjects you study and what subjects you don't. You can choose to use the unschooling method where you don't have any formal lessons at all, or you can follow a curriculum. You can do what you want. You do not get a penny, you don't get any money at all. So that seems quite unfair to me because a lot of tax money goes to schools for children to be educated, but if you choose to home educate, you don't get any of that money. So that's quite disappointing because that would be very helpful in terms of stationery and music lessons and whatever else. And there are no mandatory vaccinations. I have a question from Lana and she says, do I have any siblings and does my husband? That sounds like an easy question, but it's not actually that easy. I, like I said, come from a dysfunctional family, that's putting it politely, and yes, I kind of have siblings. I've got on my mother's side a half sister and another half sister, and then on my dad's side I've got a half brother and a stepsister, but I didn't really grow up with any of them. And my husband has a sister. Paula asks me what I've learned about homeschooling with my older children that has improved my methods with my younger children. I would say what I've learned is that children all learn at different ages and there's no rush to get them to learn things particularly early. Like with my first children, I taught them to read at the age of 3, but I don't do that now. Now I'm much more relaxed and I think that it's important for children to play and to use their imaginations and to really indulge in that when they're young and to not worry about reading and writing, because even if you don't learn till you're 7, then it's not going to affect you when you're 10. At 10 you'll still be able to read at the same level as whether you learn to read at 3 or 7. Let your children be little and don't push them, there's no rush. Sarah from Mrs. Supermum asks, did I want and plan a large family? Yes, I've always wanted to have a large family since I was a little girl. I always wanted to have 10 children, that was always my dream. So yeah, definitely. I would love to have more children, which is another question that she asks me. Yes, Sarah, I would love to have more children, but whether I will or not, I don't know. And I'm not going to be upset if I don't have any more because I already have 8 wonderful children, so I'm very happy with what I already have. She also asks, why did I start YouTubing? I started, I think, actually because I felt quite lonely. I don't have any family outside of this house really that I'm in contact with, so I don't have anybody to sort of chat to. I don't have any friends because when I was younger I moved around a lot, so I never formed any friendships. Well, it's a long story, but there are a number of reasons why I was discouraged from having friends, so I just never developed any friendships really. So yeah, YouTube is like my way of sitting down and chatting to a grown-up, if you like. It's like my little time to chat with other mums, just to share my life like you would share with your mother or your sister or whoever. You maybe ring them up and tell them about your day or something. I don't have that, so this is what I do instead. So that's why I started YouTubing. And Sarah asks me, do I have any YouTube goals? I do not really have any YouTube goals, but I would like to be able to earn a little bit of money from YouTube to provide more for my children's education. But YouTube, as you may know, doesn't really pay anything. That would be like my only goal, would be that it helps my children's lives a little bit more. And Sarah asked me, am I a routine type of person or more flexible? I would say I'm both. Like I said, with the meals, times of meals and bedtimes, I am quite set in my ways and everything's done at the right time. But with things like the lessons for the children, I'm very flexible. If they want to do all their lessons in the morning, they can do that. If they want to do them in the afternoon, they can. If they want to maybe do 2 days worth of lessons in one day and then have a day off, they can do that. So in some ways I'm flexible, and in other ways I'm just quite set in my routine. And then I have another comment from 23B Matty, and she says that she'd like to see house tours and room tours and stuff like that. So yeah, that is certainly something that I will be doing in the future, so look out for those videos. Anyway, this video has gone on for ages and ages. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to divide this up into part 1 and part 2. I'm not sure how long I've recorded for. Thank you very much for all your questions. I was really surprised at how many questions I got, and I've really enjoyed answering those questions, so you get to know me a little bit better, and maybe you have some more questions now. If you do, then leave them below, and I will one day in a month or two do another Q&A. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you for your continued support. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye.